So this is about old versus new. And normally when I talk about this, I talk about technology, like the durability of technology and how it used to be really good, and as time goes on it gets worse. But actually I want to talk about every aspect of the world. I want to talk about how old technology was better, old movies, old TV shows, old music, old everything. Just how old in general is superior. Old technology, yes, and overall durability of like technology, appliances, clothing, but also even just things around that we see in the world. Most people are in denial about a basic fact. Older is better and lasts longer. So let's begin with TV. Look at how crappy TV is now. TV is infected with nothing but crappy talk show hosts and satire news shows where all they do is talk about the same lies or push a liberal narrative day in and day out. It's essentially impossible to turn on your TV without seeing mindless Trump bashing. We live in a world where liberal SJW narrative is so pushed that these talk show hosts like Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Fallon are actually forced to do this or they get fired. That's a fact, you can look it up. Jimmy Fallon was already threatened because apparently he's not bashing Trump enough. That's an actual quote by his network. Now this is not about Trump, don't worry, and talk show hosts, but it's to emphasize the kind of lack in quality in TV we have these days. You see, TV now is a business. TV used to be about quality TV shows. Most of you don't know this, but let me give you some examples. Back in the day, even in the 90s, when I was growing up, and especially back in our parents' day, you actually could turn on the TV and not just be flooded with propaganda. You could watch quality sitcoms like I Love Lucy, All in the Family, Frasier, Seinfeld, Married with Children, Mad TV, one of the best sketch shows of all time. The reason why you can't watch these kind of good shows anymore is because not just the liberal propaganda, but also just the SJWs who get offended by these kind of shows, so they can't put it on TV anymore, which is bullshit. And you know what was the best thing about these sitcoms or any other good quality sitcom? Do you know how nice it felt to watch these shows and see the audience cheer when a character they love comes on screen? This doesn't happen anymore. You never saw that in a modern show like Big Bang Theory, unless they had a celebrity guest. But back in the day, where you watched All in the Family or sketch shows on Mad TV, the audience would erupt in cheer at a certain character appearing because that's what quality TV in sitcoms was. But that doesn't happen anymore. People today will never understand how awesome it felt to always see that cheer and excitement. It doesn't happen because characters in shows just don't offer that charm anymore. How about being home from school in our day and watching The Price is Right? How about when the M in MTV actually stood for music? For those of you who are young, yes, it really does stand for music. Do I really need to explain what MTV was like in the 90s? Well, to summarize, they actually had music videos and top 10 shows and all kinds of stuff like that. Really cool music shows, actually. And now it's just liberal propaganda and stupid things that you see, like when MTV put that video on YouTube of top things that are bad about white people. They just post crap. But today, MTV is liberal propaganda, talk shows are liberal propaganda, satire news shows are liberal propaganda. The media lies more now than ever before. TV is flooded with crappy reality shows, true quality sitcoms are dead, and the ones that do exist also just push SJW narrative. And on top of all this, look how much people are offended these days. Back in shows like Mad TV or All in the Family, they actually made jokes that were racist or sexist, or would use words that you can't say on TV anymore because SJWs get offended, like faggot or retard or something racial. They also tackled things like religion or political issues, and they did it in real ways, not just endless tasteless Trump bashing. All in the Family in the 70s was one of the most controversial shows of all time, and it still is today. The kind of racial jokes you saw in that show would never be on TV today, and that's not a good thing. It just shows that people now are so easily offended and sensitive they can't take a joke that goes against their beliefs at all. SJWs have ruined TV and comedy. Comedy used to be something that allowed people to poke fun at themselves, their races, their culture, their beliefs, their religion, etc. And back when it was allowed on TV, sitcoms, people laughed, people enjoyed it, but now you make one small joke about a black person and there's either protests, riots, or the show gets cancelled. Let's move on to movies. Originality is completely dead. Have you ever noticed that the majority of modern action movies, much like video games, are just recycled and rehashed? I said this to a few friends and they all agree. Think about this, if you were to change the title of many movies, you literally wouldn't be able to tell the difference, because the aspect of story, plot, and connection to characters are gone. Action movies are just explosions and it ends. Have any of you seen the modern Tarzan movie? If you took out the word Tarzan from the title, you literally wouldn't know it was Tarzan. Look at Rambo 4. Good movie, yes, but again, looks like any other action movie. Take out the word Rambo and the movie looks like The Expendables. Stallone is in that, but it doesn't change the fact that the character and the overall tone of the movie hasn't changed. And this applies to many modern movies. Look at many action movies. Look at John Wick. Look at Rambo. Look at all these action movies, or even like Tarzan. There's several others. Look at The Mummy, the new one with Tom Cruise, the crappy one that we're boycotting because we love Brendan Fraser. If you took out the title of these movies, they would all be the same movie. But yeah, about Rambo 4. You didn't really feel like you're watching Rambo, like the first 3 movies. It felt like you were watching a regular action movie that had Stallone in it. And this happens with most movies today. Action movies are the most guilty of this though. If you want to see what true creativity, acting that feels real and not forced, originality, plot, character development, and character connection is, watch old movies. Next up, video games, which are also dead. Look at old games. Remember playing Mario on your NES? Remember playing Sonic on your Genesis? Remember even playing classic Final Fantasy games right up until the PS1? Remember being able to play a game and being immersed in the story, the plot, the characters, the cutscenes, the level design? What about what platforming games used to be? Ever play the original Spyro or Crash trilogy on PS1? That was flawless level design and creative platforming. Something that, again, you'll never see today. Why? Because they're too occupied with rehashing the same overused formula you see in garbage like Call of Duty. What do you think games like Call of Duty or action games in general get remade so many times? It's because they're easy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're bad because they're easy. This is about the lack of originality. Action games, shooting games like Call of Duty are the easiest to make because they all look the same. Just change up the level design a little bit, add in some missions, change the guns, and boom, you have a new game. And people think like, oh my god, this game is so cool. When really, when you play Call of Duty 5, you basically played Call of Duty 5 times. Throw together some guns, create a World War II style terrain, and boom, the game's made. Making creative platforming games like Spyro are rare now because platformers take time, effort, creativity, and development. You will never see the amazing gameplay and level design you found in PS1 games and before. Now all you ever get is the same rehashed, recycled garbage like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed. Kids today will never know what a platforming game is. And even when a good game does come out, have you noticed only because they're remade from older games? The Crash trilogy was remade on PS4. Spyro trilogy is getting a remake. Final Fantasy VII is getting a remake, and many others. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these games are bad. In fact, they're amazing. But the point I'm making is that the originality is so dead today that a good game can only be made if it's a good game from the past being brought back, further proving that older is better. Next up is music. What can I say? Listen to music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Believe it or not, all you young people, but music didn't used to be just fake, auto-tuned garbage with lyrics about ass and sex. Listen to old music. Look up music from the 60s. Music used to be raw. There was hardly any, if any at all, fake stuff put into music. All artists had back then was raw, real talent. They had soulful singing voices, meaningful lyrics, songs that had so much meaning and soul they gave you goosebumps when you listened to it. Today, the only good real artists are like Adele and Bruno Mars, in my opinion anyway, because I have real music taste. Music also used to be layered. Take MJ for example. He actually layered his songs. Today, to quote Brad Sundberg, there's a make a pop song button. But that didn't used to exist. Artists had to have real, raw talent and the ability to sing and write meaningful lyrics. MJ and many artists would sing raw and layer the songs as many as 10 times to get the song perfect. It took raw talent. Once all the verses, chorus, ad-libs, melodies, tune, etc. was put together, but as Brad Sundberg says, you can literally press a button now and have a tune made instantly, and have an idiot like Bieber sing over it. The soulful sound of old music and raw talent, effort is gone. And again, you young people will never understand it. But if you want some examples, I urge you to check out some of the biggest and most talented artists of all time, who actually had raw talent, including Michael Jackson, Elvis, the Beatles, Blues Brothers, Queen, the Eagles, Phil Collins, Supertramp, Rolling Stones, James Brown, and the list goes on. And I urge you to go even older. Check out people like Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly, Ginger Rogers, Jeffrey Daniels, Shirley Temple, Sammy Davis Jr., and see the kind of talent they had back in the 30s and 40s. Fred Astaire is one of the best dancers who ever lived, and I bet most of you don't even know who he is. Check out these people, and many others. Ask your parents. Tell them to educate you on what real music is. But let me ask you this. Do you know why autotune even exists? It's simply proof to back me up. Real artists didn't need autotune because they knew how to sing. Auto-tune now is needed for all these pathetic losers these days who can't sing and need a machine to do it for them. And you people don't even see it. Next up is award shows. Look how pathetic award shows are now. Let me ask you another question. Did you know award shows actually used to be based off of talent and not popularity? I know, this will be shocking to all you young people, but yes, now award shows are just popularity contests for the media to just pick out whoever they want to win. That's why the same artists like Lady Gaga and Katy Perry win all the awards, yet they have very little talent. But back in the day, award shows were much stricter. They were also real, and not just paid off. That's a fact, look it up. Artists back in the day would only win an award if they earned it. They weren't pre-planned and pre-picked based off of popularity like they are now. Awards used to be given based on talent, and if the artist deserved it. And I always used to say, but I'll reiterate, if you put artists of today, such as Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, Kanye West, and Beyonce, and many others, into an award show from the 80s, they wouldn't even be nominated, let alone win. Now that I've destroyed all those topics, let's get into the main thing here. The durability and quality of products. We're going to discuss the durability and quality of modern products, but before I begin, I have a few questions for the modern-minded people to answer in the comments. For anybody who disagrees with me and thinks that modern is better, I urge you to answer the following questions in your comment, please. Question number 1. If modern phones were more durable, then why do they all require cases and phone screens? Old phones, such as flip phones, didn't need that. Question 2. Companies, such as phone companies like Apple, know that most people will buy a new phone every 2 years, sometimes even as little as every 6 months. So what reason would the company have to waste more money into building phones that last longer? And this is a two-part question. Do you truly believe that companies are aware people want a new phone every 2 years, but will intentionally still build them to last as long as 5 or more? Because they would just be wasting money on materials to make the phone stronger. Question number 3. If clothing was higher quality today, then why does all clothing, especially brand name, require to be washed on delicate in your washing machine? The real answer is because modern clothing is made with thinner and weaker material, like everything else, and thus requires the delicate wash on a washing machine. Now, I just want to add in one point to this. Normally, I don't like to include my personal opinion. In fact, I hate including my personal opinion and personal experience. Sure, it's something that I've seen, but most people do this, but I don't like to because I feel like I'm just one person. I can't tell you my opinion and say, well, it's true. I'm just talking for myself. And most people actually think that's a good thing to do, but it's not. When I talk about things like most of this video and most of my videos in general, I base what I'm saying off of seeing thousands of examples and talking to people who have also seen thousands of examples, looking online, doing the research, and seeing that it's basically a worldwide thing. But I'll still talk about my own opinion. My experiences in everything have shown that older has been better. In terms of clothing, and that includes shoes as well, look at shoes. In the past 2 years, I have owned 4 pairs of shoes because the average lifespan of shoes now is 6 months. So in 2 years, I would have 4 pairs of shoes. But guess what? My pair of shoes before those 2 years that I had up until 2014 lasted for 7 years that I bought in 2010. How ironic that those lasted 7 years bought in 2010, and then 4 pairs in 2 months, in 2 years, are gone in 6 months apiece. Now before I got some morons saying, oh, you probably didn't buy high quality brand name. Actually, they were all different. One of them was from Walmart, one of them was no name, one of them was a brand name, and one of them came from one of those high-end stores. And they all lasted the same amount of time. The average lifespan of a shoe is 6 months. It used to be 6 years. If you want more evidence into the clothing, like most of the evidence I provided here, you can actually see it for yourself, which is why I found this video so pointless to make, because most of this evidence is so obvious. You can walk down the street or in your home, see it for yourself. But here, I'll give you a test right now. Clothing that is not brand name, like the clothing you can buy at Walmart, touch the shirt, okay? Physically touch the shirt. You will see that the clothing that's not brand name is actually higher quality, and you can know this by how thick the shirt is. This is a high quality shirt. It's older, shocking. And it's thicker. Thicker means that it's made with more material, therefore it has a harder time ripping. Go into a high-end store that's selling shirts for like $90 fucking, and they're a high brand name. Touch the shirts. Again, it'll be very, very thin, almost like paper, showing you that it's low quality. And you need to wash it on delicate. This I can wash on anything I want. It's not going to rip. I've had this for years. That's just how clothing is. Generally speaking, when you buy brand name clothing, you're not paying for the quality of the clothes, you're paying for the logo that's on the shirt. This should be common sense, but apparently it's not. But anyway, that's clothing. Now let's move on to technology. Phones today only last about 2 years, maybe 3 or 4 if you're very lucky and take care of it. Older phones like flip phones lasted 6 to 7 years and didn't require cases. You could drop them from a building and they wouldn't break. This is a fact. Now when I say building, I don't mean the fucking CN Tower, but I know people who have dropped their old flip phones from a 1-story building and it didn't break. You drop your cell phone from this height, it's gonna smash. Let's look at game consoles. A Sega Genesis, Atari, NES, etc., they all still work today. Yet your PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, they're all already breaking down. Again, I'll put some personal experience into this, I'm already on my 3rd PS3, and most people who I know who own a PS3 or any modern console, Xbox One, Xbox 360, they've already broken. Those same people, I say, hey, do you own a Sega or an Atari or an NES or a PS1? If they say yeah, then they follow it up with, yeah, and it still works. I, by the way, also own a Genesis, I own an N64, and I own an NES, and I've only ever owned one. Vinyl players still work, and they're 70 plus years old. VHS players still work, while DVD and Blu-ray players are breaking. The lifespan of laptops used to be 10 years, now it's only about 4. Look it up. The average lifespan of old TVs was over 30 years. Now a flat screen TV breaks in 4 or 5. As well, not just TVs from the 70s, they still work today as well, but even like the really super old ones. My grandparents had a TV from 1940. Still turned on. My girlfriend's father is a tool maker. He actually builds tools, so he would know what he's talking about. And even he says that modern tools break quicker now than ever before. The average lifespan of a fridge used to be 30 years, now it's 14. But this is not just fridges, this also applies to other appliances like toasters, microwaves, ovens, etc. What about updates? I mean anything. Look at computer updates. Every time a computer updates, or an app updates, or a website updates, or a software updates, it always breaks. It becomes slower, it becomes less functional, it becomes glitchy, it becomes less user-friendly, it becomes less organized. It freezes, it crashes. Something negative always happens when you update anything, and people always complain about it, and act shocked by saying, why is it not working? I updated it. You all say this, even you modern-minded people, you need to admit to it. And I'm just sitting there like, it's not working because you updated it. What about updates out in the real world? What about restaurants updating? Well, modern restaurants suck. Chain restaurants suck. You want quality food, you gotta look for old, independently owned restaurants like diners. If you want quality food, you don't go to that rich restaurant. You don't go to a chain like Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King. You have to look for independently owned diners. Diners that look like they're run down. Seriously, if none of you have ever gone, go look for a restaurant that looks like an old, independently run diner. Go there and you will have the best burgers, in general, the best food of your life. That's where all the best food comes from. Because it's not a chain where a company has taken over a mass franchise like McDonald's and thrown chemicals into the food and lowered the portions while increasing the price. Independently owned means that it's family owned. It's one of those ma and pa shops, they call it. The prices remain low, the portions remain big, the food remains good and real, no chemicals. You always find the best stuff in old independent places. I know modern-minded people will have trouble understanding what is stated in this video, despite the overwhelming list of facts that proves me right, and the underwhelming list of facts that proves me wrong, which is 0. But it is true, and I didn't even need to make this video. You should all be able to see it for yourself. Just look at stuff you own. Look at how often you buy new phones, new clothes, new shoes, new TVs, new laptops. And then go ask your parents how often they needed to buy that stuff. And you'll just see the difference. It's so obvious and so easy. But I leave you with one more fact that proves my case 100%. Just Google planned obsolescence. It's the idea that products are intentionally built weak so that we'll buy more. Now, I know many of you might be thinking, well, why would a company build a product that's intentionally going to break in 2 years? This is business. Businesses like Apple and many other businesses, they need to make money. They don't want you to have a phone for 8 years. They don't want that. Sure, they make a new phone every 6 months, so they hope that dumb people will just go and buy it even if the current phone works. But even aside from that, they want the phone to break. It's business. This is called marketing. You sell more, you make more money when you sell more. Duh. This is like the biggest part of the facts that prove me right. Companies intentionally build things to last a short period of time so they can sell it. And there's even a terminology for it. It's called planned obsolescence. You can Google this term and see for yourself. This applies to appliances, clothing, technology, phones, laptops, everything. This is a fact, and to deny it is incredibly stupid. For the record.